Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Bolter Design Code tutorial. I'm Philip Bolter and I'm an artist here in San Diego, and I love to use gouache paint, and that's what we're going to do today. Last week I was creating a tutorial on doing a philodendron potted plant, but I really didn't like the colors, so I thought it would be a perfect day to re-illustrate this and repaint it with the colors that I asked for some recommendations in my comments on Facebook and Instagram. And you guys gave me some really good suggestions. One being to make these leaves a lot darker and a lot more yellow. So I decided I'm going to use an olive green for these leaves. I think it's going to bring a lot more contrast to the actual plant. I'm going to use a permanent yellow orange for the pot just to keep it a little bit more tropical, but I am going to keep it a muted background by using this ash blue. I think it's going to really make that permanent yellow pop off of this page. I'm also going to use a little bit of burnt umber right here in this little piece, not very much, and I have my permanent white and my ivory black, and these are all from Holbein Artists Gouache. You can use any gouache. You can actually even use acrylic paint for this tutorial, so I hope you follow along. I also have my Winsor & Newton Series 7 brushes. You can use any watercolor brushes at home. I have a round number 5. I have a round number 3, and as you can see, it's a little bit smaller. I have a round number 2, smaller than the 3. And I also have this Princeton Heritage Series brush. It's a liner brush and a number 2. And this is to get some of that detail for some of these leaves. So it's really helpful to get a lot of that paint loaded up on this brush and just create those long, nice, smooth strokes. I'm also going to be using 140-pound hot pressed watercolor paper from Legion Paper. And I like to use this paper because it's a little bit thicker, and when you lay down some of the gouache, it's not really going to fold up on you. You can also get a block, or you can get the pads. Today, I pulled this piece of paper out of my block and ripped it in half so I can use 2 pieces from one page. You're also going to want to be using a painter's palette today. I picked this up from the art store. It was about 99 cents, and you're just going to fill in all of your paint right here. I also like to use 2 cups of water. You can use 1, but I like to use 2 because I like to clean my brush in one of these and mix using this cleaner water into my paints. And one more thing you're going to need is a paper towel or a napkin. I am just using a paper towel right here, and that's going to help clean your brush as you go. And once you get all of your materials ready, we can go ahead and begin our painting. Before I begin painting, I always like to do a little rough sketch, a little light line work on my piece of paper, just so I know where to lay the paint down. So take some time right now, draw a little bit of your illustration on your paper, and then we can begin painting. Okay, now that we have our easy line work down for our plant, we can begin with the background. That's what I like to begin with. So I'm gonna paint this background, this awesome ash blue color, and brighten it a lot with permanent white. You can choose any background color you wish. You don't have to have ash white like I do. That's just what I wanted to do. You can follow this tutorial with any of the colors that you have at home. Okay, now that we have the lightest color of our background, we're going to add a little bit of more ash blue into a new section of your palette. And that way we can pull a little bit of this color over here. Bring it into that fresh background color paint. What we're doing is making a darker shade of our background. So you can see this is going to be a little bit darker than this. And we're just going to put it down here on the bottom. Okay, once you get your background done, you can wash off your brush and let this dry. Since it's gouache, it shouldn't take too long to dry. Just monitor it by looking at the paper. You can see which sections are dry and which ones are wet just by seeing kind of it glisten. All right, now that our background is dry, we can move on and paint our little pot right here. For that, I decided to use the permanent yellow orange. I'm gonna put a little bit right here in my painter's palette. And I always like to brighten it a little bit up using permanent white. And for this pot, I decided to use a Winsor & Newton round 2. Take a little bit of water from your cup and start to mix that color. All right, now that our pot is nice and dry, we can move on to all of these little leaves up here. So to do that, I'm going to use a little bit of my olive green, put a little bit in my color palette right here. Again, I'm going to brighten it up by using just a little bit of permanent white. Come in here. For this, I am using my Winsor & Newton round 3. All right, now that I did these 2 leaves, I'm going to take some of my permanent white and I'm going to brighten up this color. I'm going to take some of here. I'm going to go right into this permanent white and brighten up this permanent white color, or this olive green color with permanent white. And I'm going to do this leaf right here. Now, I want to get these two other leaves painted. So I'm going to take my olive green, I'm going to come over here now and get this mixed. Okay, with that nice dark green mixture, we're going to come in, we're going to do these other two leaves. And what we're doing is we're creating depth and some just visual interest by using these three different shades of green. All right, moving on, now that these are a little bit dry, we can come back into this pot and create a little bit of depth and contrast by just using a little bit of our permanent orange. We're going to use our round 2 to get that mixture going. Use some of this dark color. Back here. Okay. We can come in and do the brighter side of this pot, and what we're going to do is take a little bit of this permanent orange, just a little bit. We don't need too much. Just a little bit there. And more of your permanent white. And what we're going to go for is a lighter shade of permanent orange than this one. And I'm just going to use our round number 2 again. Again, we're just going for a lighter shade than that one. And we're going to come back in here and we're going to do this side. Over here and get a little bit of this. It's kind of like the top of the pot. If you want, you can even get this back part if you have it. All right, now that the pot is dry, we can come back into some of these leaves and do some of these highlights of the leaves. So what we're going to do is use our liner brush, like I said, and we are going to we could either use white, or we can add a little bit of the olive green to that. This is going to be a very bright, we're looking for a very bright color here, so add a little bit of green to it. and I'm just doing a nice little curve shape. Curving, just like so. And repeat it for the other side of the leaf. So I thought it'd be fun to do a philodendron because I've been kind of really into tropical plants lately. I've been putting palms in my backyard and kind of went down a rabbit hole on other type of palm and tropical plants. I have bamboo growing on the side that I've been really into. Probably talk about it too much to my wife, but it's something I'm really into because all of the new shoots are starting to sprout up, and I'm getting really excited to see how tall they're going to be this year. I do plan on doing a video showing my plants around the backyard and some of the plants I have on around my house. I don't just love painting them, I love collecting them, I love taking care of them, learning about them. So I think it would be really cool to just do a video about all the different plants I have around. I recently went down a little rabbit hole on YouTube looking at all these different types of tropical plants and how cool like some of these tropical gardens can be. Over here in San Diego, we have a tropical garden in Encinitas at the Botanical Garden here, and we recently went up there and got to see a lot of the different tropical plants growing. I think the one thing that's cool with tropical plants are how big the leaves can get and how big some of the actual like the palms can be, how tall the bamboo can be. One of my favorite tropical plants is plumeria, and I have a few of those growing in the backyard right now. They all sprouted up, so I'm getting really excited to see their progress later on. Okay, for this far leaf over here, you may have noticed we missed that one, or hopefully you didn't paint that one yet. If you did, it's fine. But what I wanted to do was create a little bit of depth by not using this light white color, but using a shade similar to what we had on the first two leaves. So I'm gonna go back in and kind of use that color with my liner brush, kind of remix that. All of that in there. And basically this is just the underside of the leaf, because if we were looking at this plant, it'd be on the back side of that pot. So I'm going to use a little bit of that, and I'm just going to come in here and kind of go like this. Okay, and then also I am going to mimic a stem that's coming across by using that same color. So the stem's kind of back here like that. And just like that, okay? We're also going to be adding another stem that's going to be coming across, and for that I'm going to be using You can use your round 2. I actually decided to use a round 1. And I'm gonna take some of that darker olive green color that we had, and I'm gonna mimic, somehow picture the stem coming off of the back of this leaf and coming down into the pot. So to do that, I'm gonna pretend it's coming down, and I'm just gonna put a little stem, like so. And if it's going behind here, then we need to keep it going behind there. And if you want, you can do another one on this side. This one might be a little bit lighter though. It might take a little bit. Just like so. Okay. Just a couple little stems to show that they're popping out of the pot. All right, we're getting into our final touches. And to do that, we're just gonna give it a little bit more contrast, brighten this thing up using just our permanent white or any white that you have. I'm gonna put a little bit here on my painter's palette. I am actually gonna continue using this Winsor & Newton round 1. I know I didn't list it off in the beginning. You can use your round 2 or your liner brush that you have, or if you have a smaller detail brush like this round 1 or even smaller, you can go ahead and use that. But for this, we're just gonna use some of our permanent white and do some of this highlighting around the leaves as if the sun was hitting this way. And we're gonna do a little bit of a highlight on the side of the pot. So I'm gonna start with this leaf up here. I'm just going around the leaf with our white, just to give it a bit of highlight. I'm gonna do it for this leaf. Now we're almost done. We're just gonna add a couple more darker shades to give this even more of a pop or contrast from the background. And to start that, I'm gonna go back in and use some of our permanent orange, the same shade that we had right here. Using your round 1 or a round 2 or a liner brush, just come on in, and we're going to do a dark line on this other side. For one of our final steps, we're gonna create a lot more depth and contrast like we just did by adding a darker shade of our olive green. A bit of our olive green back into our painter's palette. I'm gonna use a little bit of this ivory black. Now I don't like to go straight into the painter's palette with my ivory black. I like to pull from it, so I'm gonna put a little bit there. We can go in and just do a little bit of the shading from the underside of these leaves. Well, all right, there we go. We just created our philodendron potted plant. I definitely think it looks a lot better than the previous one, which just goes to show practice really does make perfect. I appreciate all the comments helping me out with selecting some of the better colors for this. I think this actually turned out really, really nice. All I would need to do is put my little signature down here on the bottom, and then it's ready to go to a friend, family member, maybe the website for sale, whatever you want to do with it. But I think this turned out really, really cool. I really loved the ash blue on this. It has a nice, cool gray tone to it. The olive green certainly made the leaves pop a lot more, put a lot of focus right there on the leaves rather than the pot or the background. And I also really enjoyed this permanent yellow orange. I think it does give it a very nice tropical vibe, even though we had a muted ash blue. We also used our ivory black and our permanent white a lot. The one thing I didn't end up using was this burnt umber. I know I said that in the very beginning, and that was just to add a little bit of brown here right in the pot. And you can certainly still do that. I just didn't think my pot was deep enough to really show any of that brown. But either way, it turned out really cool. I'm really happy with this piece. I hope your piece looks just as good, and I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial with me. For any more tutorials, please let me know in the comment sections what you would like to see, more plants, more landscapes, or anything that you would love to paint along with me. Also, please subscribe and please hit that notification bell. It certainly helps me know that you guys are enjoying this as much as I am enjoying creating these. Also, please give me a like. It helps the video go further, and it just helps me create more. So again, thank you, and I appreciate you guys for watching this. Please share with me any of your paintings on Instagram at Bolter Design Co, or you can follow me on Facebook at Bolter Design Co. Share or hit me in the DMs. I would love to see what you created, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you again. I'll see you on the next one.